Okay, welcome everyone to INE's CCNA Voice 1-week boot camp. My name's Mark Snow. I actually hold a CCIE in both voice and in security. I also have a number of various other certifications, MCSE 4 and 2000, CCNP, DP, the NP Voice, which was formerly the CCVP, and many Cisco specialist certifications. You can reach me at msnow@ine.com, although typically a faster way to get a hold of me is to get a question in general about anything you might have pertaining to voice, is to log on to our online community, our forums, and it actually doubles as a forum and a mailing list. You can reply to the email threads, and that is ieoc.com. ieoc.com. Not only myself, but there are a number of other, 3 other CCIE voice engineers that are dedicated to answering questions there, as well as many of your peers. Just a little bit about me very quickly. I got my start in technology actually back in, well, ever since I was born, really. My dad was a research scientist and electrical engineer at AT&T Bell Laboratories before that became Lucent. And so he was also a patented inventor. And so I kind of grew up around schematics, resistors, capacitors, I had a signal generator and an oscilloscope. So I learned to use the oscilloscope by the time I was 8. And I was on Unix System 5 before DOS even came out. So I kind of really didn't stand a chance in terms of not turning out to be a technical geek of some sort. But I've been working in data and voice for many years in traditional voice, at the older PBXs and Definities, Tataran Coral, Nortel 61 and 81Cs, and been deploying those as well as both in enterprise and as well as 911 public safety answering point, or PSAP, emergency services for many years, since the early 90s. I've been working with Cisco voice over technology, so voice over frame, voice over ATM, and eventually voice over IP since about 98. And I've been consulting since then. I've been teaching both all the technologies related to, but then also the strategies and how to pass the CCIE as well as CCNA and CCNP voice exams since 2005. That's just a little bit about me. Let's go ahead and get on with the course. So the course objectives are to assist students in understanding how to maintain and operate a Cisco Unified Communications Network solution, and then also, of course, to prepare you for Cisco's CCNA voice exam. Let's go over a brief agenda of what we're going to be doing this week. First, the introduction, what we're doing right now. And then we'll also take a look at what are Cisco's Unified Communications certifications and where do you go from here. You may already know that, but just in case you don't, I want to make sure that everyone has a clear understanding of what the UC certifications are inside Cisco and a path to go on. Then we'll take a look at an overview of unified communications. We'll start by looking at the fundamentals of telephony in the traditional telephony sense, and then we'll also bridge that gap to the newer unified communications or voice over IP. And we'll go over a brief but important QoS primer. We're not going to go very deep at all into QoS, but you do need to know some about QoS in order to take and pass Cisco's CCNA voice exam. Then we'll take a look at an overview of all the components, and I really shouldn't say all of the components, but any of the components that are listed on the CCNA voice blueprint of Cisco's Unified Communications Network. Now, that itself is going to take a while. Cisco's Unified Communications suite of servers and applications is so large that it can't possibly be covered by the CCNA or even CCNP or even CCIE voice. But we will go over a good overview of all the main components, all the major components in any UC network. Then we'll take a look at an overview of an administrative and end user interface. We'll look at the various forms of administrative interfaces and then the various forms of the end user or even system management interfaces. Continuing, we'll take a look at call flows, call legs, and the various call configuration concepts inside Cisco UC. We'll look at those call flows in both UCM, which is the Unified Communications Manager. And if you aren't familiar with these acronyms, don't worry, we will cover that in the very next section. Sorry, in 2 sections when we go over the component overview. And then also the Express version of the Unified Communication Manager. We'll also look at various classes of service and what does that mean, and how is call routing handled at a high level. Again, this is a CCNA class, so we're not going to go too very deep into all the specifics of the call routing. We'll certainly go over everything that's needed for the exam and everything to give you a good understanding of all the main components that are needed to set up call routing in UCM. And some of you may even be overwhelmed just by what we have to go over, but we will try to keep it at an adequate level. For those wanting more, I certainly welcome you to come back to the CCNP voice almost 2-week class that we're going to have. Next, we'll take a look at call flows and call configuration concepts in the Express version of the Unified Communication Manager, both class of service and call routing. Then we'll take a look at the configuration of the various endpoints. Some people refer to these as IP phones. There's a lot more than just IP phones, and so that's why we call them endpoints. But all the various user devices and also the users themselves in the Unified Communication Manager. We'll look at both SIP and Skinny, how to register those endpoints, and then how to configure those endpoints and associate them and configure and add users. We'll also look at how to do this in bulk administration. Next, we'll take a look at the configuration of the endpoints and the users in the UCM Express. So again, Unified Communication Manager Express version. All the same stuff, SIP and Skinny endpoint and user. And then we'll go into a rather deep topic of UC telephony features. So all the different phone features and functions, the calling features. We might take a brief look at media resources, although we won't go very deep into that because it's not very core to the CCNA voice understanding. That we get much more in depth and cover that really completely in the CCNP voice. We'll take a look at mobility features in unified communications, and then we'll take a look at the voice messaging features and functions. So the voicemail or unified messaging, various components, so the large Unity connection, and then also the smaller Unity Express. And then we'll also take a look at presence, also known as status features and functions in both UCM and in what Cisco calls the CUP server or the Cisco Unified Presence Server.